Get ready for some major drama in the boxing world. Ryan Garcia and Oscar De La Hoya just unleashed a brutal takedown on Eddie Hearn, and they didn't hold anything back. From calling out Hearn's losing streak with 14 fighters to accusing him of being incompetent, De La Hoya made his thoughts crystal clear. And if that wasn't enough, Ryan Garcia stepped in with a message of his own, aimed right at Hearn. The rivalry between these promoters and their fighters just reached a boiling point, and it's adding fuel to an already explosive boxing scene. Curious about what went down? Let's start our video. Ryan Garcia recently teamed up with his promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, to throw some serious shade at Eddie Hearn during this week's Clapback Thursday on social media. De La Hoya used the opportunity to remind everyone that 14 of Hearn's fighters from Matchroom Boxing have lost their matches this year. Oscar listed some of those fighters, then played a video showing the rest who were defeated. It was clear that De La Hoya wanted to emphasize Hearn's struggles in managing his fighters, and he didn't hold back in pointing out these losses. Oscar also brought up Canelo Alvarez, one of the biggest names in boxing, to make his point. He said that Canelo was with Golden Boy Promotions for 10 years, during which Oscar claims to have built Canelo's career from scratch. De La Hoya contrasted this with the time Canelo spent with Eddie Hearn, which was much shorter, just 8 fights. According to Oscar, Canelo ended his partnership with Hearn because Hearn was incompetent and didn't do his job well enough. This was a direct jab at Hearn's ability as a promoter. To make things even more heated, at the end of the video, Ryan Garcia earbeard and gave the camera the middle finger, saying, "F you," clearly directed at Hearn. This harsh gesture shows the bad blood between Ryan and Hearn, which stems from comments Hearn made about Garcia before his fight against Devin Haney last April. Oscar De La Hoya started his Clapback Thursday video by saying, "It's Clapback Thursdays, and this week I have a special guest helping me out." He was referring to Ryan Garcia, who joined him for this episode. Oscar then shifted his focus to Eddie Hearn, saying, "Let's start with Eddie Hearn, who lost his mind after I called out the facts." Last week, De La Hoya had pointed out that many of Hearn's fighters had either lost their fights or suffered injuries recently, and apparently, Hearn did not take that criticism well. Oscar continued his rant against Hearn, saying, "Eddie, am I imagining that 14 of your main fighters have lost this year? 14 fighters. It happened again last week with Sandy Ryan, and just the week before, a J. Anthony Joshua lost his fight." He went on to say, then Shakur got injured, and before that, Berlanga was defeated. De La Hoya was clearly pointing out that it has been a rough year for Hearn's fighters, with one loss or injury after another. Oscar wanted to highlight that despite Hearn's confidence, his fighters have not been doing well in the ring. De La Hoya didn't stop there. He added, "You must be the biggest liar to try and convince everyone that you're good at your job. It's a disaster, and the Matchroom curse is real." Here, Oscar was accusing Hearn of being dishonest about his success as a promoter, and even called it a train wreck. He also addressed the ongoing tension between him and Canelo, saying, "You always mention that Canelo hates me, and yes, we don't get along. But that doesn't change the fact that I promoted him for 10 years and built his career in the U.S. De La Hoya wanted to remind people that regardless of the personal issues between him and Canelo, he played a big role in making Canelo a star. He then added, "Canelo only stayed with you for 8 fights and left because you're incompetent. Your track record shows it." This was a direct criticism of Hearn's ability to manage a top fighter like Canelo. Finally, Oscar said, "Oh, and by the way, Eddie, you said I don't have stars, but who's this?" At that moment, Ryan Garcia appeared on the screen and said, "F you to Hearn," making it clear that he stood with De La Hoya against Eddie Hearn. Oscar De La Hoya's sharp words and Ryan Garcia's reaction are part of an ongoing rivalry that's playing out between some of boxing's biggest promoters and fighters. The tension between De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions and Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing has been simmering for a while, with both promoters often taking jabs at each other publicly. This latest incident seems to escalate that rivalry even more, especially with Ryan Garcia directly getting involved. For many fans, these types of verbal battles add extra drama to the sport, building excitement beyond the fights themselves. It also underscores the competitiveness in boxing, not just among fighters, but also among promoters trying to prove who has the best stable of talent. Ryan Garcia's involvement in this video is significant because it shows where he stands in this feud. Garcia is one of the brightest young stars in boxing, and his support for De La Hoya in taking on Eddie Hearn is a clear sign of loyalty to his promoter. Ryan has had his own issues with Hearn, particularly after the comments Hearn made before Garcia's fight against Devin Haney in April. Hearn's remarks, which were perceived as disrespectful towards Garcia, have obviously left a mark, and Garcia didn't hesitate to show his disdain in this latest video. By appearing alongside De La Hoya and giving such a strong message, Garcia is making it clear that he's backing Golden Boy Promotions all the way. De La Hoya claimed that he helped build Canelo's career from the beginning, promoting him for 10 years before Canelo decided to move on and work with Hearn. According to De La Hoya, Canelo left Hearn after just 8 fights because he was dissatisfied with the results. These types of promoter shifts can be influenced by many factors, including financial incentives, career opportunities, and personal relationships, and this latest back and forth shows just how personal it can get. The rivalry between these promoters isn't just about their fighters, it's also about their reputations and legacies. Oscar De La Hoya has been in the game for a long time and was one of the most successful fighters himself before becoming a promoter. His pride in helping build champions like Canelo Alvarez is evident, and he's not afraid to call out other promoters when he feels they're not performing at the same level. Eddie Hearn, on the other hand, has made a name for himself as a successful promoter in recent years, bringing some of the biggest fights to the stage and expanding Matchroom's influence globally. Their rivalry represents the clash between the old guard and the new wave of boxing promotion, each trying to prove that their approach to managing fighters and putting on big events is superior. This ongoing feud only adds to the spectacle of the sport, as fans watch not just the fighters in the ring, but also the power struggle behind the scenes. As the rivalry between Oscar De La Hoya, Eddie Hearn, and their fighters intensifies, it's clear that the drama in boxing isn't confined to the ring. This war of words is just as captivating as the battles fought under the bright lights, with Ryan Garcia jumping in to back his promoter and make a statement. Whether it's a question of loyalty, legacy, or just a clash of egos, one thing is certain: this feud is far from over, and fans can expect more fireworks both inside and outside the ropes. With every jab and clapback, the tension only grows, setting the stage for even more heated moments in the world of boxing.